Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Gaz Williams Show. Streaming live from the UK, from Bristol, in fact. Soon to be home of Bristronica, electronic Bristronica. Bristronica, electronica. I should learn to say it properly first. This is a Bristol Synth event is happening on September the 30th. In a similar vein to kind of Super Booth, but in the UK. Very exciting. I'm going to be involved in that. I'm mentioning that now because what is the Gaz Williams Show? Well, the Gaz Williams Show is all about music technology, performance, and music in general, really, and quite a few non sequitur and distracted thoughts along the process. Please consider subscribing and even clicking that stinking bell if you want to be informed when I go live. Now, some of you who are not watching this live may be very confused about the title, which is Evolving the Mars Mammal. Now, what on earth does that mean? Well, we will explain shortly. I'm just checking. Yay. Hello. Okay, cool. Yeah. Just seeing we got live streams. Hello, Paul. Hello, Original Synth. Hello, Jack. Just saying some greetings. Thank you for joining me live. It's great to have a live audience. Really appreciate it. So, mic level is very low. Okay, we can increase the mic level. Thank you very much. Oh, there we go. That's louder. Hopefully that's okay. Appreciate the feedback. Yeah, okay. My headphone level is quite loud. Maybe that's what it is. Brilliant. Okay. Evolving the Mars Mammal. Ooh, what could it mean? What could it mean, indeed? So I'm just waiting until the stream is, until I'm... Hey, hiya, Lee Kemp in the chat room. So, yeah. I'm just waiting for the chat just to build up a little bit, and then we'll get stuck into the show. Now, I should mention just before the show, Richard Nicol, hello, my friend. What a pleasure. Before the show, I've been having a little bit of trouble with my sample player. I'll explain more about this later, the sample player, but the solution apparently is to take the SD card out, copy the entire contents across onto your computer, reformat the SD card, and then transfer all the files back on, and then it sort of defrags the kind of SD card. And so if you sample, if you're drawing samples quickly off the card, then I guess the data is organized in a way that facilitates that. So I was getting a little red flashing light warning me about it, and I kept putting off. I'm meaning to do it. So when do I decide to do it? I decide to do it 8 minutes before my show. What does my computer refuse to do? It now, in the moving of the files across, has kind of locked up that process. Yes, just saying hello more. We got Tellurian, hello. And Harry Turner Project. And Mr. Dres Dresler, yes, thank you so much. Me and Dres were together yesterday. A man very much involved in the creation of the psytrance genre, no less. Or so he tells me. No, that is true. So he is, yeah, he's a friend. That's nice. Thank you for joining me. And Lifeman, thank you. Brilliant. Hello to everyone. Right, I better get on with the thing. So I'm just kind of, I'm looking at my files. They are moving. Oh no, I've really messed up here. I've messed up. It's telling me that they've got 4 hours to go from transferring them across. It's a 15 gig card. I foolishly assumed I could do it in a few minutes. How wrong I was. Now, those samples on that card were going to feature kind of prominently in the show tonight. Now, what do I do? If I press the X to cancel the move, hopefully I won't have lost any files. Oh, yes, I have. Looking at the files. Right, maybe I've moved some. Let me just put that back. And then we will get on with the show. So that was a fail, if ever there was. Yeah. Okay. Evolving the Mars Mammal. What does it mean? Well, what it is, here is my live Eurorack rig. We've seen this a number of times on the show, but every time I've been using this, I've been doing something new every single time. Like, it's not really set up for songs as such. So each time I'd use it, it would be a voyage of discovery. And all of the gigs that I've done so far have involved this, and have involved this entirely spontaneous approach, without anything planned. Not even a tempo planned. Well, maybe in one case I had a tempo planned, but really not. I'm a musician who plays in bands, and I play songs. That's been a massive part of my musical journey and career. However, with this Eurorack stuff, and partly the appeal of it, I've got to be honest, it still is a massive part of the appeal. That. The freedom and the ability just to go off on adventures without things locked down. I think what had happened when I was working on working with a computer, you tend to lock things down very early in the development stage of a piece of music on a computer. You record something and yeah, you can obviously mute it and move on. But I do feel that starting work on a computer straight away, starting on a song, feels a bit too much like it's the final place to take the song, as in, make the song elsewhere and then just sort of put it on a computer to distribute it, etc. But actually, I mean, I love DAWs. They are so important. They're like, they make a mockery in many ways of hardware. Just hardware cannot keep up with what a computer can do. We all know this. Yeah. So what am I on about? Well, I've been exploring over the past 5 days or so what would happen if I kept returning to the same exact start point. I'm sure many, many people on their modular journeys do this, or performers do this, but for me, I'd not tried doing this, and I thought it was an interesting way to go about the start point, which is to have an initialized set of values, but for that specific song. And then for the next song, there would be another initialized set of values, and off you go. Every time you start that song, you are starting with ostensibly everything set up the same way. So the tempo, everything, anything that can load anything in, like some of the modules that I've got can have presets, for instance. So I would put it in to that start point, and then with some of the other modules and the mixers, etc., just turn them all off so I can bring things in. So what is the Mars Mammal? Well, Mars Mammal is the name of the song that I've been developing, and so far I've completed 5 attempts at it. And what I'm interested in, I haven't done it yet, but I'm interested in taking those versions of the tune, putting them into Cubase in this case, or maybe Ableton Live. Why I'm thinking Cubase, the arrange track in Cubase, much underused but very powerful tool. There's a similar thing in Studio One now as well, but where you can define regions. I think other software has got it, but taking the tunes in, manually aligning them to the grid, because I've just started them in, they will be, they should sync up, but making sure things line up and having all the tracks, all the different takes, or they're not takes, performances, all kind of align. But decide, or have them all, actually probably this way, have them all along a single track, and then on the arrange track, which is running concurrently with it, define regions of each of the best parts of the different ones. So that's my thinking. And I decided earlier today that with tonight's show, I thought I'd actually share this. This was something I wasn't going to share. I was going to complete before I share it. But I've kind of chronicled all of my journey so far with Modular. So I feel I owe it to you, really, just to show you what I'm currently exploring. I have to give a shout out to a particular piece of software. I've been using it and championing it now for maybe 12, 13 years. It's a mind mapping app, and it's called Simple Mind. And my phone has just run out of juice. I was going to show it you. It doesn't matter, but it's a mind mapping app. And actually, it works as a really good way of creating, I can show you mind map on here, but this is not the same one. Putting a photograph of the Modular in, and then, coming off that then and adding thoughts, so like, tempo, have that come out by the PAMs where the tempo's put in. There, I can move this around, so put it in there, choose what the tempo would be. In the case of Mammal, it's 135. Yeah, and then I keep annotating this. Civilization would be in mode 1 and preset 1. I've cleared all the memories out of everything now, so starting this again, starting from the beginning. Okay. This is the sort of gist. So I start building a mind map, annotating those things. Just going to check in with the chat room first. Sorry, I haven't checked in there. Hey Wagyu, hello Keith in Watford, hello Armgrown, hello that's your head. Paul Tobin, Jack. Sorry if I've Matt Brown, hello. Yeah, so hello to everybody. Sorry if I've missed you. But anyway, yeah, I've got to transfer my failed attempt to copy files across. I'll just do that now, and I'll sort it out later. My friend Frank would always say, when given an estimate about time, if it involves a computer, then work out how long something is going to take and then times it by 4. He used to say that in the 1990s. That was definitely true back then. Okay, SD card is in, and let's go. Let's turn on, and a bit of a pop there coming on. All right, my files are complete, so that's okay. All is good. And great. Okay, so right, I'll check in with chat room first and explain what I'm going to do, and then we're gonna. So, because I dear lovely chat room, who I often just don't get to watch because I'm so busy fiddling and faffing around, I really would like to ask something off you this time. What it is I'm developing this tune. It's called Mammal, and I will go through all of the different startups that I've got going on here, and then I'm going to have a go at playing the tune. Then what I'd like chatties to do is just to feed back to me areas that they think could be better. And then I'd be quite interested then to see what kind of ability that I've got within the available Modular. I do not want to repatch. Okay, I've set this up almost to be, it's like fully patched. So I don't want to be repatching, but I could be repurposing, So the 2 main modulation sources that we've got in the live rig come from Pamela's new workouts. They're clocked modulation sources. There's a Pamela's new workout and there's a Pamela's Pro workout. So the Pro being the new one. Okay. So they're my two main modulators. Sound sources come from lots of different places. We got the 4-channel Rample that I was just having a few problems with. That's not working as great as it could be because the card needs to be defragged. Then I've got a bunch of drum modules from Erica Synth. I'm sure many of you will recognise this from when I've gone on it before. The QD drum from VPME. So really, this is all the drums here and samples. Then we've got like 2 voices. One voice is new. We've not seen it before here. So we've got the little Pico voice. That's just a 3 HP. That's been in the case for a while. I just use that for sort of bread and butter kind of sounds, really. But the new one, and it's most interesting, is the Bristol Pizza here, which is like a FM digital wavefoldy oscillator that's in a fairly small footprint. So what's that? Is that 8 HP? So the output of that goes into ripples from Mutable Instruments. So I've got an analog filter, and then something else new. I'll have to move my head out of the way. Tucked in by here is the pizza delay, or rather it's called the stereo, let me remember, see the name of it, the stereo space delay. The stereo space delay also from Bristol, okay? A stereo delay, as the name suggests, but it's in exactly the same format as the pizza. So the pizza is like a kind of, digital oscillator with some really cool little features. But the layout of the notes and the knobs and the sliders exactly the same on this one here. And you can change the firmware. You can put the firmware in. So so they could both be delays, or they both could be pizzas, or in this case, my oscillator and my delay. Now, to be fair, it's more than an oscillator here, because it's also got it has got a built-in VCA, and you've got a control knob down the bottom here, which is configurable, and you can configure it to be a controller for a built-in VCA, which is great because it makes it almost like a complete voice. Yeah, it doesn't have a filter, hence me plugging it into a filter, but this little control knob at 12 o'clock, it'll just be ticks, and then to the right will just be instant attack, super fast attack, and then it just controls how much decay. But then going counterclockwise, it's kind of slow attack and a slow decay, which increases as you turn that up as well. So just a very simple macro envelope control, and I have to say, a lot of the time, that's exactly what you want. Well, in terms of shaping amplitude in a hurry, you can really change that in just a single little tweak. Okay, so the starting points of this little tune then is the this Mars Mammal tune. It's fairly basic in many ways. It's 135 BPM, and it's in the key of C major, so it's in the obvious key, I guess. But I've tried to make it quite simple, just because this is a way of getting this setup as fast as possible. My goal is to be able to have, for every setup, a different sort of starting block, and by utilizing the mind map, hopefully that's going to speed up my ability to remember. And maybe I'll have an iPad with me that I can look at the mind map, or on my phone during a performance if I need to ready it for the next songs. So this is my thinking. So this is where I'm currently at. And so what I'll do now then is I'll do a little performance of Mars Mammal. I'm turning all the mutes off here. I'm turning mutes and taking the faders down. Opening up the filters, cutting the drive back a little bit, making sure the QD drum is loaded into the first of the presets, turning the decays down on these, making sure like my gates are coming from the Bristol compass, but also coming from grids as well. And my civilization is in mode 1. Mode 1 essentially is a matrix mixer, but each of those outputs I've got pitch quantizers on as well. And I'm not putting audio through the civilization, I'm putting CV values, so I can mix different CV values together from an arpeggiator and a sequencer and send varying strengths of those out to different locations on here. That is currently giving us our C major pitch quantization. But pitch is also coming from the disting, which is running the latest firmware, which gives you a poly FM algorithm, which that is based on the you've now got actually as well, you've got plats that you can run on here and braids. And when you run them, either plats or braids, you can run 4 concurrent instances of it inside the one module. So plats, fantastic. So now you've got 4 in here. But what Oz has done at Expert Sleepers is he's taken the FM aspect and he's broke it out from plats, and he's made a complete new instrument, virtual instrument really, FM that can read DX7 patches. So we've got that, and I'm having it generate a chord, and I've set the scale to be C major here as well. So just make sure I'm going to go into the menu here. I'm just going to go to the presets menu, load preset, and polygon. Am I sure? Yes. So just making sure I've loaded all that in. So in terms of getting the setup right, then both PAMs have got a bank save facility. Okay, saving in the bank, which is which in the case of the new workout will save the state of all 8 configurable outputs, but doesn't actually store tempo value. The new one does. So previously I've had this one be my main master clock, and now I've changed it so the Pro one is the master clock, and then this one follows. But the start and stop button is actually coming from this one, and that's just to save on my premium outputs. So I'm using an output of the older PAMs for transmitting a start and stop command, but the clocking is actually coming from this one here. Okay, hope it all makes sense. So yeah, so those are my basic sort of starting setups. Oh yeah, the little Erica synth and the steppy. These are both kind of little sequencers. This one right over here in the left is a gate sequencer, which is driving the samples in here, which is set to be glockenspiel, which I can't reach it now, but my glockenspiel, which is behind my computer, I've sampled it and I've made select notes. There's 4 channels on here, and what I've done is I've recorded in C major, and I've done mostly root notes in channel 1 with some thirds and fifths, and then up an octave root notes and third and fifths spread across the other channels. So what that means is I can send random gates to it and it will play harmonic music. Let's start now, because this is the start of Mars Mammal, is a solo glockenspiel part. So I'll build up by just putting in gates, little triggers here. I'll build up a little glockenspiel piece, and that will lead us in to the rest of the track. Okay. Okay, I will see you on the other side. It's going to be about 5 to 7 minutes long, I think. So give you some idea, and then yeah. Let's see how it goes. And I'm going to see how we can improve it, and I can take some questions from people watching live if they're interested to find out what was going on. Okay. Should be some music. Let me get. I'm just going to do something just to make sure I've got some sound. It should be all good, but if not, figure out why. I'll just restart and get something working, and then we'll go for it again. I was way too confident then, wasn't I? Okay, I had sound before. See now, here's an interesting issue. I have got a lack of VU going on with this mixer. Doesn't have any VU meters on it at all, even if it was just a little indicator to show signal. It actually, no, I tell a lie. On the main, it does light up on the main. So no, it does have that. Okay, I've got something. It's all too quiet. All right. Let's bring this up. I'll just get the hi-hat just to help me set a level. It'll bring in a kick for a bit of a level as well. Okay, I'll just get my levels together and then we'll have a go. Okay, cool. All right then. All right, everyone. Sorry about that. False start. Going to start that again, and then we'll get in to the groove. All right. Okay. So that was another go at Mars Mammal. That's my 6th attempt at it, and that was quite a bit different. That was definitely a bit more fraught than some of the other ones that I've done. But that flavour, those sounds, those kind of chords, the way it was all. If I was to do it again, they would be kind of similarities about it. So I'm just going to turn now to the chat room, if I may, and we'll just see. Hopefully that you're thinking it's all right, but yeah, I've got to get the. I think my idea with the Glock, I think it could probably just be super, super minimal. It probably doesn't need very much Glock at all. Bass barking sounds better filtered like that. Okay. Do you know, there was a few things I forgot to do. I had a modulator. I did have a modulation set up for the bass voice, which was turned off. So that was something that I'd actually forgotten to do. Very warp label. I like that. Bit of a kitchen sink feeling, and a case of less could be more. Yeah, I think you're right. And this is something I generally struggle. I do end up being a bit maximalisty. Yeah, thank you. But Glock sounds lovely. Okay, thank you. That's cool. Yeah. Just looking at not a big fan of the chords. Yeah, the chords are. So, it's a bit weird how the chords are being triggered. And I think they need more modulators to make those chord changes a bit nicer. So basically, I've got a little sequencer here, which is going into the civilization, which is then sending a CV control into the disting, which is generating the chords, and the little sequencer is essentially telling it to play these chords, and the disting being constrained to a key is making the chords play right. But they don't sound great, I agree, although they give me a bit of a 90s feeling that I quite like. So I've been a little bit, I've given them a bit of leeway on that. But the way the chords are triggered is just with this really simple little step trigger here, so I can turn steps on and off. So yeah, I think what I'll do now, is explore some of the ideas, some of the weaknesses in the track, and really thank you for the feedback. Yeah, and I appreciate the honesty as well. I think it's really good, really good. It's good to. What I'm trying to do with this rig, as you kind of heard in that tune, is I'm trying to make full featured music, with everything going on. But you're spinning a lot of plates. You're trying to keep everything doing stuff. I'm trying to avoid using a sequencer where everything is on a big timeline. I know a lot of people do that, and I understand absolutely why you would do that, but I'm trying to avoid that. Although I do feel that it's inevitable I'll end up going down that way at some point with some setup. This rig isn't set up particularly for that. It is set up to be spontaneous, I suppose, in the most. Wagyu saying, I think synthesists will be the first to get an extra pair of arms fitted. Yeah. Jack, since you asked, perhaps more of a structure, a more defined place, the sequencer going into the ping pong might could be more sparse, so the echo plays out longer. Yeah, okay, that's a good idea as well. Matt Brown asking me, have I got volumes for all voices? More or less, yeah. Not keen. Sorry, Deadly says not so keen on the bass line, but if it was better filtered at the end, yeah, okay. Okay. Love it. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for that. You know, it was super useful. Okay. So let's have a look at some, we'll have a look at some of those elements and see what we can do to make them better. Let's have a look at the bass line. Incidentally, I am in my rig downstairs that I'm practicing for live. I'm using bass guitar as well. And that is going to be a big part of what I do. For this particular song, I decided not to. I decided to make this one something that is entirely internal. And I want this song to be, I want it to start to become something with a structure and to get into those sort of things. Yeah. Okay, let me just have a quick look here now. So Matt Brown's asking me, have I got volume for all voices? Yes. So here we've got a new mixer, and this is from the wonderful DPW design from Dan, my good friend Dan Wahlberg, who is a brilliant module maker. And this mixer has got a few special tricks up its sleeve. It's 4 stereo channels here with panning. And at first I was thinking, I don't know how useful the panning is with the stereo channels. It's super useful, just offsetting it, and just it really does help you create a stereo image with your stereo channels, obviously. But there are these little switches here, and they're in banks of 4, so you can make it. You could make it 2 stereo. 4 stereo, or 4 mono and 2 stereo, or 8 mono. So this is quite flexible, but it's also quite nice that if you are in the stereo and plug in mono, then that's normaled across and the pan acts as a pan. If you're in the mono mode, the channels, the pan control becomes a crossfader between inputs, what would be your input 1 left and right, but with 2 mono channels, it becomes a crossfader. Clever use of space. And then the other thing which it's got, which is I think a really cool feature, is it's got a limiter built into it. And this is based on Dan's limiter that's in his limiter module. I think it's 8 cascaded limiters. And the way it works is when you engage the limiter, you get 50% more gain, or rather, when your gain pot was fully up to like Unity, I suppose, when the limiter's on, you would put it to halfway, and then it means you can actually drive your stereo channels into the limiter, and it's got like a soft clipping in there too. In reality, what that means is, because I'm submixing a stereo module into another mixer, those levels were coming in quite quiet. The maximum, so being able to push those now has remedied that. So yeah, it's actually a terrific module for me. It's really helped me get more control over my mix. Yeah. Harry Turner saying, oh yes, live bass guitar will definitely make you have a Eurorack bass to work from. Go Geddy Lee. I love Geddy Lee. Okay, so that's one of the mixers. So yeah, so I mentioned that submixes in to channel 6 on this mixer here. So this mixer has 4 mono channels and 2 stereo channels. One stereo channel I'm actually not using, that comes to this module here, which has got my inputs for my pedal board and for my other modular rack. So downstairs, just to explain, where I've been practicing, I've got two layers going on. This being the main layer, and then a top guest layer, if you will, and then the pedal board, which brings in guitar and bass. So they come into that module there. But then there's one more mixer up in the top that you can't see particularly well here, is a little 4-channel mono mixer. And then these 4 Erica modules feed that. That submix comes out, it goes into a little 2HP filter, and then from the filter it jumps across here and goes into a little Erica drive, and that drive has really helped. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. That's kind of new as well in this rig. Okay, so firstly then, let's have a little look at the bass line, and I'll explain what was going on with the bass line in terms of the sequencing of it, and we'll see about trying to make that a little bit better. So I'll mute everything off except for the bass line, and let's get that rolling. Okay, it's coming from this module here, and this is literally coming out and coming in to the mixer, so there's not an awful lot I can do. It's like the kind of acid bass model. Okay, now, where are those notes coming from? Both gates and pitches. They're coming from different places. The gates are coming from an output of PAMs, and I'll call that up. And basically what we're using here is Euclidean steps, and I've just got I've got 8 steps with 3 triggers on there. So if I increase the triggers, 4 triggers, each trigger is triggering 2 notes. That's because the pitch is changing for the length of one step, because the pitch information is coming from the little sequencer that I've got here. Okay, so I could put more steps in. So that's 8 steps again, but with 6 trigs, 7 trigs. 6 is quite nice. I'll just leave that for a moment. Now I've got another output of PAMs that's coming via this little attenuator. So if I turn this up now, you can hear it's bringing out wah-wah effect in. But what we'll do is, though, we'll have a little look at the modulation and then see what we can do to make that modulation a bit more interesting. So I'm going to navigate to my number 3, output 3 on here. I can change the rate of it. Let's see what we can max it out. Or can have it really quick, really slow. This might be nice. What else could we do to this? Well, the shape is just a triangle. Here's some pulses. Interesting. But you're right, it is a bit of a boring bass line. Hasn't got much groove to it. So let's see if we can change that then. I'm going to go to Flex Op now. This is a new feature in the Pamela's Pro workout. Go into that. So human. So now it's got a 25% humanness. But let's just see what that humanness does if we turn that up. Let's go 100% human. As I am, actually. Well, no, I I don't know. I think I'm 100% human. It's difficult to tell with that, isn't it? What I will do, though, I think is I'll just put that back to 25. I'll do the same thing, though, on the triggers instead. I think that'll be a more interesting way. Let's just turn that bass off for a minute. There is something which, if you're a Pamela's new workout user, there is something that the Pro one has got that will make you very jealous. And that is, at the moment, I'm in the settings of output 3. On the new workout, what you'd have to do is you'd have to come out, turn to the next one, go back in with like long presses and stuff, and it's a bit of a kerfuffle. Here we can if we hold the button and turn, we can jump to the equivalent page on all of the outputs. One thing to be aware of, though, and I nearly fell for it myself here, if I'm on the human page, for instance, by choosing human as a flex op, it gives us another output. It gives us another page on the menu. And if I was to try and change page on there, it'll only let me change to pages that have that setting on as well. And if you haven't got anything else, I've got 2 outputs on human on here, but it's like you go to change it and it doesn't appear to be working. But that's why it's like you're trying to change it on a page that it hasn't got an equivalent to. If you just navigate to one, like every single channel has got the flex op selected page, it'll let you choose any of them. Okay, so that that's obviously a little pro user tip for Pamela Pro Workout users, and something that sadly the older model doesn't do. Now this flex op thing, let's have a look what else there is. So we'll go to the bass channel, the one that's triggering the one that's triggering our notes. So I'll just navigate to there, channel 8, and we got our little Euclidean steps. I'm sorry, I should have created a zoomed in one, but I didn't know which module I was going to be working on the most. But what I'll do here is I'll go to the flex op mode on here, and I'll set this one to human, and we'll listen to the what the human does to the feel. Might get a hi-hat on or something. Exaggerate the amount of, let's go back to 100%. I'm going to turn I'm going to make less trigs as well. Difficult to kind of quantify that with that pattern. Okay, so what I've subsequently done is made my bass kind of worse. Just going to check in with the chat room. Yeah. Now, with that particular, so just catching up with the chat room, what can I do with that voice in terms of affecting it? Well, to be honest, not an awful lot. All I can do is send it to the delay, and I could set the delay to be not a delay. I could set that to be like a kind of flanger or phasery type thing. You can do a bunch of stuff with it. In fact, why don't we do that? Bassline is a bit rubbish, though. I haven't paid much attention to it. I'm just wondering though, if I leave that human thing on it, just whether it being just a bit looser. Well, it doesn't feel very loose, does it? Have I just 100% make sure I've set that in? human, 100% human. I don't know if you can see that. The scope is quite telling there, actually. If I make the... Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's get that. I've messed. Let me go back to that setting. Yeah. You see, these are the different shapes now. Trapezoid shape, sine shape. That's kind of sounding pretty cool. It's not. Okay. So obviously it's very boring what it's doing musically. So I want to kind of make those notes move as well. Okay. Let's just assume that that bass is a little bit better just for a moment, so I can move on. Right. We're talking. I think one of the things the feeding back there was that that there was too much Glock action. So sorry about that. Let's just set the. This could be a lot prettier, couldn't it? Could be a lot nicer. So I'll just... Of course, what I could do, which may make sense, is I could set the probability level higher, or rather lower, so the probability of them sounding is low or lower than they were. This module resets, so if I press stop, my master stop and start, then yes, if I stop it and start it, it restarts from the beginning, like we can see that. And I've got reset. In fact, we can see this is resetting, stop, start, and this is resetting as well. And what else is resetting? I've got some resets going somewhere else as well, but oh yeah, to the clock divider gets a reset. So getting that delay, little short, fast, slappy delay, and we can get some. Actually, that is a good idea for getting some groove, isn't it? The delay could get some groove. Actually, that's a good idea. Let's just get that. There is a sync. The delay has got a sync going to it. Let's just get just going to get the delay behaving a little bit. Getting better. Now, I could, something I've been planning on doing, haven't really got into doing yet though, is you can do cross modulation, or like with the PAM's new Pro workout, and I'm wondering that could kind of help putting some variations into the rhythm, because it's pretty boring at the moment. Now, actually, that does remind me, what I will do is, let's have a look at that bass line. I'll put I'll turn the probability down. Let's try it at about 80. Okay. What's happening is, at the rate it's going, it sounds like it's sending 2, but there's 2 notes per gate. So, okay, that means there's going to be the occasional one skipped, which will give us a little bit of variation. Now, oh, thanks. That tone is sounding better a little bit. The little delay that I'm using here, I say little delay, this Bristol delay has got some really cool features on it. It's got that kind of filter that you see quite often. It's like a DJ filter. It's off at 12 o'clock. It's like a high pass clockwise or a low pass anti-clockwise. So with this being a bass, you know, look, there we go. If I had the low end, I was just all muddy the end up there. So actually having the decays being filtered gives us a rhythmical effect without adding too much low end mud. Okay, I'll leave that bass for now. I'm going to turn it off. The chords. Okay, so, oh, yeah, sorry, I was doing the glockenspiel. Right, let's get the glockenspiel doing something quite nice. So, okay, in channel 1, I've got 12 samples. If I just fill this up. The probability is set to here, which is about what 70% or so, 80, 75%. Hence those gaps. Take some out, take more out. Channel 2. I'll just do a few. So that's just 2 channels of it. So it's easy to kind of, because it's quite a cool effect. Like look, if I go to channel 3, put some more in. The probability on this channel, yeah, is about 70%. It's still starting now to oh, Wagyu, are you talking about the glockenspiel or the bass? Because the glockenspiel, I have got an effects unit that it's plugged into, which, but see this glock pattern, it doesn't take long before it starts getting a bit sort of annoying. It's really lovely, but gets a bit annoying. So I've been putting it through effects as well. Let's have a look. I'll try a few different ones out. Distortion. like the distortion on it. Let me just turn it down a little bit. Crank up the distortion on it. See what it sounds like in this distortion land. Still too busy, isn't it? So I'll go to that channel, the busy channel, and turn the probability down even more. I wonder, I can turn it up an octave. Let's try a different effect on it. You can't sync these delays, so you'd have to do them manually. It's like a mono delay. This one has got a pitch. This could be quite fun. It's a pitch. This sounds really nice, this one. It's like a pitch shifter delay. Doorbell. Avon calling. Oh yeah, I could tell you my little. I'll tell you my little joke. The River Avon is the river that passes through Bristol. Bristol used to be in the county of Avon for a short while. I think it was Somerset, and then I think it was Avon, and it's all a bit weird. But Avon also is the Avon. Avon ding dong. Avon calling was like a real 70s thing of the makeup lady who used to come and do door-to-door sales of makeup, I think. Anyway, the reason why I'm saying this is I was just really chuffed to come up with a name for bad breath. When you drive along the M5, you pass Avonmouth, and depending on what the tide is doing, you know, it's like a bad case of Avonmouth. Yeah. Wagyu saying, I think the pitch mod is fun if you're going for a kind of delirium feeling on your track. Otherwise, it might be a bit much. I agree. Yeah. It's sort of Dead Bruce Lee saying verb on the Glock. Yeah, I think so. I think verb, or certainly a delay. Okay. Sorry, I don't know if my Avonmouth story was worth telling, but if you drive past Avonmouth, then I think you understand what I mean. I like Avonmouth, by the way. It's not a bad place. Right, okay, let's get back to what I was doing. This is the delay I was using before, the stereo delay. So the module doesn't give us a lot we can do. It's only a 3 HP after all. But it has got a nice sound. We've got a dry wet mix, we've got a feedback, and we've got a time control. You know, not an awful lot that you could do. Well, there is. I mean, who am I kidding? You can do a million billion things for this, but just in terms of, I have got a CV input to be able to modulate this. Although, what could I? I'm trying not to unpatch anything at the moment. So it's that kind of Glock thing. Is sort of doing its own thing, but Oh, okay, Wagyu did like the distortion. Yeah. So, maybe we'll go to distortion then, because it will make it different.
And if there's lots of delay... Oh, I should mention, I do have a master effect here. I used that a little bit in the first performance. So if I swell that in there... I could make it dark, make it long... Be something in the intro to go like an atmospheric intro with a dirty distortion reverb, perhaps. Still got one channel of these glocks not being used, so I'll put in one here. And I'll change the probability of that as well. Won't sound now. It did. Or maybe here. Didn't sound then. Okay, there was another step on there. So occasionally that one will fire. Did then as well. So there, that's from the bank of the highest samples. Okay, let's see if we can get the chord sequence and this kind of working together. Let's turn up them and let's hear what they're doing. I'm going to pan them further to the right a bit here, and the chords a bit more to the left. Sounded quite crunchy. Let's back the distortion off a little. And we can see there's only one step, it's triggering each time. Bam, down, because of the rate at which this is flowing. So if I wanted to make it busier, or busier still, a little bit kookier. I'm at 135 BPM, so this is getting its clock from... Just remembering, I think this is getting a fixed clock. This is getting a fixed clock at the moment, so I can't slow that. That's the slowest I can trigger it. I'd have to do some repatching, I guess, because we're at 135. God. Let's just listen to... Oh, it's a relief when you turn off those glocks, isn't it? Blimey, when they've been going on and on and on and on. Let's have a look. Okay, so that the notes of the chords are being dictated by this module here. But if I wanted to, I could kind of influence the chords by having the arpeggiator affect them a little bit. Let's see what that does. Makes it horrible. So this arpeggiator is being modulated from a couple of sources. Let's turn the arpeggiator modulation off. It's just kind of curious chord sequence. Let's see if I just edge our glocks back in. I fancy changing the clock rate of the glocks. I'm gonna clock it much slower. I'm at half time now. So we'll just get. I'm gonna observe what goes on here as well. It's a bit weird, isn't it? Let's see what happens if we bring in our bass line over this as well. Wow. I think... Now we got the big reverb on. This little 3 HP module does sound pretty beefy, doesn't it? I'm going to turn the probability down on that bass line. So we just get them occasional ones. So let's have a look at our melody line and see how that weaves into this thing now. The gates are coming from the compass. So if I turn this all the way off, they'll be gone. Bring them in a bit. They're going loud to not have them so loud to the delay. This is getting its notes from the arpeggiator as well. So I increase the release times. Try and get them to work. Let's make it busier. So I'm going to start modulating that arp to get it to do something more interesting. You can hear the kind of chords. Now the arp's modulating. Hear how the chord sequence is going up more. A softer attack on this. Let's try it. So, you know, this is the kind of thing that I really like with the modular, is that it's a really, you know, you spend a lot of time in these quite strange musical spaces, and after a while they start to make some kind of sense. You kind of hypnotized, I guess, or bludgeoned belligerently into being able to fathom out some sort of musicality. But really, this live rig, it's kind of specializing in drums, so the weak point is the melodic content. So that's what I'm trying to develop at the moment. But we've been hearing all this stuff going on. Let's now bring back the drums and see if it sounds any better than it did before. Here we go. Okay. Cool. Hey. So some improvement there. Some improvement. Jack saying sidechain can help percussion focus setup.
That's a good idea. Now, there was one thing going on, a little sly little thing going on that I didn't explain. I could show you in a moment, that to do with dynamics. And I do want to try and get the dynamics more, try and get better dynamics. So yeah, good. Thank you. I think made some improvements on it. So this is evolving the Mars Mammal. Mars Mammal being the tune, and definitely some evolution has happened tonight. So what I'll do then is I would think about, okay, oh yes, Mara's saying R.I.P. Sinead O'Connor. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Indeed. Wow, that's a biggie. That's sad. Gosh, she's had her troubles, that's for sure. But my God, when you hear her singing Nothing Compares to You, nothing compares to that. That is one of the big, incredible moments. And that video, in all its simplicity, conveyed so much emotion, power, intensity. Yeah, God. Okay. Sad news. Only 56 years old. Wow. Okay. Sad. Yeah. I was in the running to play bass with her at one point. Although apparently could be very difficult. She could be quite difficult, but I mean, she had the full wrath of the Catholic Church at her, didn't she, at some point? I mean, that's a very powerful life that she's lived. Anyway, I digress. Wagyu saying he heard that her son passed away 18 months ago and perhaps she never recovered. Okay, well, this is sad. I want to try and turn things around a little bit. So I'm going to probably sign off now. I just want to thank you very, very much. Please consider liking this if you did like it, or just like it just to be kind. But I'm not entirely sure why, but apparently it's a good thing for my channel. But I hope you've enjoyed this. As I say, I'm trying to document my little voyage with Eurorack. As I say, this live setup is really focused around a kind of drum kind of idea, really, with those additional elements, which are quite percussive, really. You know, this is very much sort of a triggered rig as opposed to drones and the like. Hence, when I use it downstairs and I've got the different layers, the pedal board and the other layer of modular can bring other elements in. So, you know, clearly, you know, with a rack this size, there's only so much that you can fit in to it, and like the space is of a premium in a way. And thinking about, other than the one module, the little 4 HP that acts as an extra mixer, I can honestly say every single module was in use in that last little performance. Every single module, and with a few exceptions here and there, most of the patchable things are patched on here. Yeah, so I'm trying not to change things too much. As I say, you've seen some of the changes that I've been making. There's different, you know, it's evolved over the time that I've been using. Incidentally, this is a Damaru case, and I mention that because it's made in Bristol. It's made in the same building that Elevator Sound is, and made by a guy called Aidan. And I think the cases are fabulous. They're really, really good. So yeah, I'm just giving him a little plug because he's my mate, and I think the work that he does is really good. Damaru, I think exclusively only through Elevator Sound, but yeah, it's got a lid and it becomes like a solid aluminium travel safe live rig. I love it. Okay, so Harry Turner, it was nice to mess up someone else's song.
Yeah. It's got a Bristol sound. Very good. Um, Tonal Axis is saying a groove box like a circuit rhythm tracks would work well with this setup. Yeah, you know, the two-tier approach that I'm using, I'm calling the top tier the kind of guest layer, and I'm enjoying different things on there. And I've got my eye on a particular thing as well to go on there. But I'm also, I mean, I would love to put the Super 6 on the top tier. Or this on the top tier might make more sense. That on the top tier, that on the top tier, and then the Super 6 on the lower tier. Oh, gosh. I didn't really want to take the Super 6 out live, but that would be pretty awesome. Yeah, that Super 6 is just a dreamy synth. I love it. Yeah. And then in my pedalboard, I've got loopers, so I can play real bass guitar, create some nice grooves, loop that, mostly drums and stuff here, and then whatever's on the other layer for the melodies and stuff. But tonight, though, yeah, this Mars Mammal, though, it lives entirely in this. Wagyu saying, use the Super 6 as my live beta synth and buy a Gemini for home. The Super Gemini, of course, the latest thing from UDO, which isn't out yet, but I have played it. I won't say anything more than that just at this point in time. But yeah, it's lovely. Anyway, I'm just waffling as I have a tendency to do. Thank you again ever so much for joining me. It's a thrill and an honour to have people join me. It really is. I really love it. And also your feedback is great. And so for those of you who are watching this not live and who've made it this far, and people do, firstly, say hello in the comments that you've made it this far, but also just be very curious to get your feedback on what you've seen tonight and any other sort of suggestions about stuff. Again, I have a certain limitation to the amount of things I can do at any point in time. So some suggestions I just won't be able to accommodate with the way that this is set up. But yeah, that's, I guess, just the way it is. Okay, straw poll. Shall we try one last go at the tune as a play out, or have we had enough of it? I'll wait for the first reply in the chat, and then I will in direct response to that question. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. A quick. Okay. Let's go for it. Okay. Right. So I'm going to think about what we've just done, and then we'll just try and work out. So I had quite a heavy reverby sort of thing with the glockenspiel and the chords. And that was quite nice. So let's try recreating that. I don't have any means to preview. When I play with Steve always, he likes to preview stuff, and that's why he always sounds so good. I'm always bringing in elements and trying to wrestle them into shape, and it makes for some quite clumsy music. But yeah, okay. Oh yeah, so I was going to say one thing. So now I mentioned at the start how I'd created like a way to, I've got a mind map about the setup. Now I'll need to go back to that mind map after I've done this stream and add the information into the mind map that I've gleaned from from your comments and from some of the adjustments that I've made. But also what I need to do is, certainly in the case of the Pamela's Pro workout, there's a bunch of settings which I'm now going to keep. So I need to just update the bank, which, you know, easy enough to do. Navigate to the clock page, long press, and then just navigate to save the bank. And of course it's a bank because it's a bank of all of the outputs. Save bank, yes. I'm going to save it back into bank A. Job's a good one. So that's updated it with those new, so the settings that we've changed. Okay. Trying to make guesses of how to make it start. But I'll fade them in. Let's just try that now, and I'll have the big reverb, and let's see how we go. Okay. When I fade out, I'll be gone. So I'll say thank you once more and goodbye, and I'll just play us out. Hey.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.